Good afternoon, collectors. It's hard to believe we're talking about fall, back to school. It's September already. Where does the time go? I know many of you saw the Facebook posting we did last week announcing the passing of our friend and Department 56 village artist, Lynn Maderick. And I just wanted to take a moment and thank everyone for all your kind comments about Lynn, and we will make sure that we pass these comments on to her family. She will very much be missed by everyone here at Department 56. Lynn started working for Department 56 over 20 years ago when we first were introducing Seasons Bay. And she designed accessories for Dickens Village, Christmas in the City, and North Pole, with Dickens Village being her favorite. And these are some of the last ones. I just picked them out of our showroom display this morning. Some of the last ones she did. And as you can see, these are all for some of our licensed pieces. And Lynn really did a nice job on some of these. And a little later this fall, Rick Jackson told me I could show you the very last accessory that Lynn did, which will be kind of a preview for next year. So stay tuned for that. Always like to tease you with something new coming. And now let's get to the main attraction for today. We are very pleased to have with us our Snow Village artist, Scott Enter, who has joined a very select group of people here at Department 56 who's worked here 30 years or more. I guess there's just three of us. You and me and Christy
Yep.
Jensen Piro. So between the three of us, we have like 100 years experience in this company. So Scott, you've been working on Snow Village the whole time? You've worked here?
I have, yep.
Tell me just a little bit about your background in art and what brought you here to Department 56.
Well, when I applied for the job, I was applying for more of a packaging and advertising job. My background was photography, and they hired me to do all the photography for their catalogs. And at the time, it was in April, and the catalogs were finished for the year, so they asked me if I could draw it all. So I started doing accessories, and he asked me if I'd like to try a house, and so now I've been doing houses for 29 years and accessories for 30.
So you started doing photography when the sales reps were given a stack of photos. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Instead of getting a whole brochure of products to take out to the stores, they literally got a stack of photos. And I can remember in the showroom, we would each be given a stack of the same photo, and we'd go around and we'd create packets of photos for our sales reps. That was a long time ago.
So I never took a single picture.
Didn't you?
No, never got to what I was hired for. But
what was your first piece?
the first piece was the little greenhouse, and that was the first time that they had added acrylic into a piece. And it was supposed to be an accessory, and I had asked, is it possible to make an acrylic dome on top so it has more of the feeling of a greenhouse, and it grew from a small greenhouse to a village piece, and then so that at that point he said, would you like to try another one? And that was Grandma's Cottage.
Oh.
Yeah, and so then that kind of started me off there.
Well, good for you. And I think you've always kind of had the reputation of someone who likes to tinker, and
Yeah.
you know, if it's a basic box, you like to make it better.
Right. Think outside the box. And
Yeah.
When I started, Jim Wickersberg, he was doing village pieces, and a lot of the pieces, the way I learned how to do them was he would do the front views, and I would finish them for him for probably the first 6 months.
Oh, we had a lot of people who started that way, didn't we?
Yeah, and I mean pretty much everybody. That's how they started. Then they started doing the same thing for me, and so yeah, it's a learning process.
What kind of advice would you give a young person today, graduating from high school and wanting to get some more training or wanting to pursue a career in the arts?
If it's going to be in illustration, graphics, I would get into. I mean, everything is graphics now. It's
Working on the computer?
yeah, and I'm the only one here that still does it on pen and paper, and then I did some of them on the computer, and for me they didn't look right because of I'm doing Halloween, I'm doing Snow Village, and they needed to have that soft touch. So then I'd switch back to pen and paper, but
Barb
I
Lund
know-
was like that too, was she not?
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, for the most part, everything I guess was pen and paper for Barb. Yeah, yeah.
She always said because it was old, it didn't have to have crisp lines, and maybe that's what you're referring to as well.
Right.
That soft touch.
And
yeah.
I do know a couple of my children's friends that have gotten into the business that are they're designing for Nike and different companies, and everything is on computer now.
So you got to know you have your computer skills
Yeah.
down. Okay, well, when Paul visited with us a couple of weeks ago, we had him look at two different kinds of pieces, one being a creative piece and one being a licensed piece.
Mhm.
And I thought we'd do kind of the same thing today. And since the Christmas Lane series is so popular, this started in 2003. I just looked it up
Okay.
to make sure I had that right. I thought we'd bring out this year's brand new piece, the North Pole House,
Mhm.
and you could tell us a little bit about what went into the design of this, and then we will talk about Christmas Vacation, which is licensed, so there are different rules, correct?
Right. So with Christmas Lane, obviously the theme is over decorated. With this piece, again, we hadn't done anything for illumination on the top of the building in a little while. So that's one of the things we try to do is a lot of garland, a lot of flash, some extra lit accessories,
Yep,
extra
this-
attachments.
This one has,
Yeah, you got the pigtail light, so it actually is connected to the house, so it's illuminated from the same source. And it's just it's a very fun village to work on. The idea is to keep the houses single family homes and less expensive, so they're all a little bit smaller homes. And
so the design of the home itself
Right.
is more simple?
right. So
Okay.
try to put the cost into the decorations instead of the house itself.
What made you decide to pursue a line like this? It's been very, very popular, by the way.
Well, I guess it's for myself. It's just because I enjoy decorating the house for Christmas, for Halloween. I do a lot of decorating, and it just became one of those things where it's like, well, let's go all out on a piece. And the piece was so popular, we decided let's do it again. And now, like you said, it's been quite a few years. And
People
it's
really
just-
look forward to whatever the next piece that's coming.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a
Is
fun
it hard
line.
to come up with a theme every year?
It's getting harder. It's
So we're always
You know.
looking to our collectors for ideas, aren't we?
And there have been ideas that we've used in the line, and sometimes it's just the idea will just be enough to spark some inspiration and get you going, and from there you roll with it. Between all of us, we work on the ideas, and so
Yeah.
it works out well. So keep the ideas coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do know that you and Rick and Tom and Paul all meet on a weekly basis
We do, yeah.
and throw ideas around. You do brainstorming and help each other with ideas.
The weekly basis is mainly to look at what we've been doing. So we make the lists at the beginning of the year, so that's the big brainstorming process where we decide what we're going to do, and then after that we get together more to critique each other's projects as we're working on them, see if there's ideas or things that could be added or taken away, to make it a better piece.
So people come to these meetings and say, "Oh my God, Scott, what were you thinking?"
Well,
Do you get some of that, Lou?
There are times when you're just stumped, and it's like, okay, please give me some ideas.
It's more that.
Yeah, it's more of the. Usually, if you're not sure of what you're doing, you just leave it in the office and say, "Oh, I haven't got there yet."
Do we have any questions coming in for Scott?
I've been monitoring the question part of it. Somebody asked about Christmas in the city, but you don't really do much of it.
I haven't done any Christmas in the city in a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we will talk to the Christmas in the City artists a little later in the year. We're going to try to cover all of our villages. So this time we wanted to concentrate on Christmas, even though you are our Halloween maven as well. Can I say maven? Yeah.
No, I don't know what the proper
guru.
word would be. Okay.
Guru. How's that?
All right.
All right.
And for those of you who know Tom as the Christmas in the City artist, he does need a little encouraging. Okay, this is not necessarily his thing. Well, it's not anybody's thing, but he does need some encouragement. So go ahead and send him emails and tell him he needs to get out here.
Somebody did ask how many houses are in the Christmas Lane series ballpark.
I would have to run and look at my my list. I think it's over 20.
Yeah, because we do one a year, and I think there were 3 years where we did 2. So,
You want to just
And
repeat the question?
we
Yeah.
wanted to know how many pieces were in this series. And I believe there are about 20, maybe a little bit more. It started in 2003, and we've done at least one a year. And like Scott said, sometimes when you have such good ideas, you will do more than one in a season. Something that just leans itself to working in. And when I saw this, I have to tell you, Scott, my dad was a carpenter, and we always had something out in front of our house at Christmas time. And this really reminds me of something that he did. I remember him borrowing a slide projector from someone that had the picture of Santa Claus on it. He had a big piece of plywood in the basement, and he had me help him draw that.
Oh, yeah.
And then we painted it, and he cut it out, and we had it in our front yard. So this as a flat art piece very definitely was from the 60s, and very definitely was something that was quite nostalgic and fits in so nicely with the Main Street America and what Snow Village is trying to capture. You really try to stick to the 60s?
With the license pieces that we do, sometimes they draw us a little further out. So sometimes we'll get into the 70s, and I think once it was in the 80s, more of a theme, but we try to keep the theme all so that even if it is a newer piece, it's in an older building, so it still has the right feel and architectural feel to it.
Well, now that so you're a little more open with designs like this as far as your creativity. So let's switch gears and talk about license pieces and talk
Okay.
about Christmas Vacation, which has been. It just amazes me how wildly popular
It
this
has
one
been
is.
around a while. You want this one up here?
Yep, you can
Okay.
put that one up there, and then I also brought
Back here.
this one because that one is the cornerstone one. Should give us some
Oh, there
lights
we go.
there.
There we
Yeah, and then this is the newest one this year. This is the Granny's Jams and Jellies, or Granny's, what's it called? Granny's
Month.
Jelly of the Month Club.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nate. And
Well, the license itself, we had a little resistance trying to get it into the line, just because people saw it as it's a one-time piece. You've got the house, and then where are you going to go from there?
you certainly have found places to
And,
go, haven't you?
and that's the hard part, is sometimes trying to
This
extend
way.
it out
Okay.
and stretch it out. So you're looking for all the different themes or possibilities throughout the movie or show. But as far as designing a piece, typically what we do is there's usually one standalone first piece. It's
Well, and,
like
and this is
yeah.
the iconic piece, and I think last year I had a friend who said, "Oh, we're going to start Christmas Vacation this year. I'm going to start by buying the Griswold Holiday House." He couldn't find it
Good luck.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for it, buy it early this
Yeah.
year. And it had been in the line for 7 years already. This
Yeah.
came out in 2013, so it's not. How did you come up with this?
Well, so basically, we do the front view and the concept behind it, which we send to the licensor to get approved. And with this, it was basically, we knew we had to do a house that was just covered in lights. And so then, luckily, we have factories that we've worked with for many, many years. we work together with them, and we send them the idea and the concept, and they tell you, this is what you can do, this is how we can do it, and this is roughly how much it's going to cost to do it. And they came back with an idea that being able to do it like this, that kept the price manageable for the collectors. So we send that off to the licensor, and then they let us know what they think or any adjustments that they'd like to have made on it, and then we go on from there once we get their decision.
What's one of the craziest pieces you've done for this series?
For this series?
Yeah.
Well, probably the RV is it's just one of those pieces that it's so fun in the movie, and everybody loves it, and it stands out just because of the dirtiness and the ruggedness. And
Thanks, Nate. This is the piece that he's referring to, and it really, I mean, I've seen RVs that look like this. They look like they've been, in the outback someplace, and the lights on the top do work. Did you design this piece? I mean, as an accessory, it might have been assigned to somebody else, but you did this one.
Yeah.
It's a great piece, and probably still one of the top selling pieces. These two are probably the best selling of the whole line. How many times have you watched the movie?
I definitely watched the movie. It's hard to say because a lot of times you'll walk in and you'll sit down halfway through the movie and then you just don't get back up again. So it's one of those movies that combining them all together, it's been a lot of times.
Was it a favorite of yours before you started designing for the sub-series?
Yeah. It's the one that we always got together and watched at Christmas time.
It's
Funny
certainly
movie.
and it certainly has been popular among like the younger generation. I would say people in their 20s and 30s and 40s, as opposed to people my age. I can't ever say I've watched the whole movie through.
Oh no.
No, it's terrible. Every year I promise I'm going to do it, but it's like one of those things. It took me years and years to watch a number of the Christmas movies. I guess I'm just too busy at Christmas time. Okay, now we do have quite a few questions that came through Facebook, and let's see if we can get Scott to answer a few of these. Can you ask Scott, this is from Mr. Taylor down in Arkansas, if we will see any do not enter doormats in Halloween like his Enter Here doormats he sneaks into Snow Village? Having a name like Enter as a last name, you have some opportunity there.
Well, and that's why I tend to try and put welcome mats on instead of enter mats. And signs we have in Halloween, we have had do not enter signs. I've slipped a couple in there just for the the fun of it, but I don't put the enter signs on purpose. Unfortunately, it just happens to be my name. So
yeah, you didn't have anything to do with that, right?
I didn't do that.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question, and it's really more of a comment, and maybe you could just comment on it. It would be awesome to design Old West pieces like a Westworld franchise. I don't know Westworld. A Middle East themed village, or even Nintendo franchise like Legend of Zelda, which features magnificent buildings and art. Just some ideas to dream with. I admire his work so much. Meaning you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And that's from Desio. So, what about some of this kind of stuff?
Well, the only one that we have tried a little bit is the Westworld. It's not being a license with Westworld, but we have done with Halloween. We did the Haunted Old West series, and then in Snow Village we had Bucks County, which was a little more rural. It's not country western or Old West, but
more like Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
right?
and we're still going to be coming up with new ideas and new themes. Hopefully, we're going to be around long enough that maybe we can sneak some of these in.
This is a good one, and it really is it really is for Halloween. But I thought it was such a good comment that I thought I'd tell you. My 9-year-old son would like to see the Mummy House for the next Trick or Treat Lane.
Trick or Treat Lane, Mummy House. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too. I thought it was a cute idea.
Yeah.
What other village would you like to design a piece for?
Well, I guess I think maybe I haven't done one for Dickens. Otherwise, I've done them for all the villages so far.
Okay, so you've never done a
So,
Dickens Village piece?
I don't think so, just because that was always Neeland and Barb Lund, and Tom Bates, who does the New England pieces and Alpine pieces. It was such a natural fit for him that he's kind of taken over that role. So.
Will there be more people to put in our Snow Village displays? There were several questions about that.
We have this discussion all the time where right now we do the corresponding accessory for the house, and every year we seem to forget that we mentioned that we need to add extra people. So it is on the list, and I do believe that this year we finally pulled it off and got a couple people that are just extras. They're not necessarily combined with the house.
So not tied to the theme of
Yeah.
the house. Yeah, and that's a good. I think people really like to have a lot of activity going
Yeah.
on, and you've done more with animation now too,
Mm-hmm.
especially with Halloween. Of course, we're not talking about Halloween today. We'll talk about that in the future, and I think Scott will come back again and talk to us. Are there any other questions, Nate, that you can see?
Yeah, Scott, maybe you could talk
Mhm.
about your favorite piece that you've designed from scratch and your favorite licensed piece.
Okay, the question is favorite piece and favorite licensed piece. So something, non-licensed and something licensed.
Well, my favorite piece is probably still Shelley's Diner, and it's just because it's more of a sentimental thing because it was named after my wife.
And
then-
you guys do sneak that in every once in a while, don't you?
Oh yeah, at Christmas time. We have that set up in the kitchen area when we have our annual Christmas party, but now we're going to have to sneak scooters in there to go with it so we can have
Well,
the tandem
that
diners.
works. That works.
Yeah.
Those two go really well together. But I mean, all of the artists try to sneak in little nods to people.
Oh yeah, yeah. Whether it be Melinda's quilting or employees past and present, family members, friends, and
You had a
sometimes
piece where
doesn't
all
make a
three of your
difference.
kids were mentioned too.
That was the Center for the Arts. That was like 94, 95.
Yeah,
It's
was
been a
it?
while.
It's been a while, but yeah, that was cute. And we always enjoy hearing those stories as well. Any?
Everybody wants to know about Todd and Margot's house.
Oh,
I can't
Todd and-
find it. Can we make it again?
Todd and Margot's house is the question. Scott, do you just have a stash of them in your garage you can sell?
Let me give you my email. No. It was okay. We had our weekly meeting yesterday, and that did come up in the meeting, and because that's my job this weekend to try and come up with what the next Christmas vacation house is going to be. It was brought to the attention that their house was only in the line for 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came and went extremely fast, and people are trying to get it, which is, it just makes sense to do. But at the same time, for those people who have it, is it a hard thing to bring back when,
Yeah, I mean the exact same thing.
Yeah, so you could do it without the tree in the window, but it's kind of the house is the house. So to get it approved,
Yeah,
it's going to look
and that
pretty much
has
the
been
same.
our policy in the past to never recreate something that's been retired exactly the same way.
Right. So we'd have to come up with a new way to do it that made it.
And then you
interesting.
have the challenge of licensing with it.
Right.
So those are good questions.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be with you again in September. Scott, thank you so much for coming today, and we'll have him back again real soon. And our next event will be September 17th. We've got a special event planned. We don't have all of the details, but we will get something up on Facebook as soon as we've got that all nailed down. So stay tuned for some more information. I hope everyone has a very happy and safe Labor Day weekend. Don't forget to wear your masks, socially distance, but have a good time, and we'll see you next time.